Hey guys, this is Hurley again. I took fourth place the other day in the Zander Zeek Differences comp, and it was a pretty rough one as usual. I'm still not a big fan of this map, even after they reworked it in the last update. And I also didn't have any of my old marks, so I had to set a few new ones, which I'll show you here in a sec. But I'll show you what I did in my spots and the setup and all that, just in case it helps anyone else in this comp, which can be pretty frustrating at times with these low bite rates. So real quick on the setup, I just used the jig winner with the breamer, and I started off with a 3-0 jig to try and get the uni first, along with a 5-inch glowworm. And then when I go for the small fish, I change to the 1-0 with a 2-inch glowworm or any other color they seem to be interested in. And then this is the first spot I always try, and I'll throw the coordinates up on the screen for these, but I threw a bunch of casts here for several minutes and it was just completely dead, as a lot of this river often is. And so rather than walking down to the right a little bit to try the next spot, I just moved all the way down to the other spawn point to see how that was instead. It's definitely tough to know when to rotate here, because it usually takes a few casts to start getting some interest, so it may take a while to figure out whether you should keep camping there and hoping or just move on. But I'm glad I finally moved, because this other spot was a lot more active. And I finally caught my first fish here 10 minutes into the comp. It was just a common, of course, even on the 3-0 hook. And that actually happens a lot here, whether it's a 3-0 or a 2-0 or the 1-0. I sometimes end up catching either the uni or a small, and pretty much everything in between. So it can be kind of random sometimes. But then pretty quickly right after that, I caught another one, this time a trophy, which of course doesn't help much. But after a few more casts, I just wasn't finding that uni, so I switched over to the 6-inch X-Series worm, which works pretty well for those big walleye in the top-notch walleye comp. And it ended up working pretty well here too. Right after I switched it, I got the uni, which of course was fairly small, so that pretty much sunk my chances at the win. Then I totally struck out on finding either a smaller common or a bigger uni. I did go back to my original spot, and then I walked down the river a bit to this other one here, which I'll show you the marks for. But it was still just totally dead with no bites at all. And that's really what makes this map so brutal in some of these comps. The bite rate can just be so slow that it gets hard to even stay awake. And after all that, all I ended up with was the 3 Zander I caught in that one spot. But it ended up being enough to snag a 4th place here. And really, if you can catch any uni and any common in this thing, you've at least got a good chance of either getting a podium or close to it. So I hope that helps, and thanks as always for watching, and I'll see you guys next time.